Ridley Scott's track record in the last few years has been shaky at best, but now he returns to the world of Gladiator, and was that a good move? I'm going to be thematic and do the thumb thing. Yeah, Gladiator 2 disappointed me. Things I liked about the film: production design, costume design, set decoration, all looked top notch as you'd expect. The film was fairly well acted, Denzel Washington was good, Pedro Pascal was good, Connor Nielsen was good, and for the most part, the Colosseum fights were pretty good. They were entertaining, they were bloody, there were some pretty cool kills in there. They were probably the most entertaining parts of the film. But getting into my negatives, and I'm going to start off with an unpopular take. Paul Mescal, I thought, was kind of bland in this film. And I know that Paul Mescal is a good actor. I have seen Aftersun, his Oscar-nominated performance, so either he's a one-hit wonder or he did not get any good direction. I'm hoping and betting that it was that second one. And in terms of his character Lucius, I just never got invested in his revenge quest. The film starts out and he's in this town that gets invaded by Rome, and his wife dies, gets killed by the Roman Empire, and he has a vendetta against the general, played by Pedro Pascal. The film just kind of plods along from scene to scene, and you have scenarios that are kind of similar to the first Gladiator film. He fights in the Colosseum a couple times, goes back to his cell, and he's all stoic, and I just never felt his conviction. I never felt the drive for revenge. It just never came through in the writing, the directing, the acting. So that was the film's first and probably most major mistake it made right out the gate. I was just waiting to care. And without that emotional pull, I struggled to really get into the story of the film, and it affected the pacing. There were times where the film started to drag, and I just was not interested as much as I should have been and as much as I wanted to be. You see, when you explain the story of this film, it sounds awesome, with Denzel Washington's character manipulating and scheming his way to get to the Emperor's favour because he has his own agenda, his own big ideas. But it's just, when you're watching it in the film, at least for me, it just was not as interesting as it should have been. Speaking of Denzel, he is the consistent praise that everyone has given for Gladiator 2. People are just head over heels, over the moon for his performance. And he's definitely good. He's Denzel Washington. He never gives a bad performance. I personally think his performance in this was a little bit overhyped. He was good. I liked the character. I just was not blown away by his performance anywhere near as much as I've been told I should have been. My favourite part of Gladiator 2, Pedro Pascal, really good performance, and his character is interesting. He's the general of the Roman army who is sick to death of working for these two emperors. And it frustrates me because Lucius wants revenge on Pedro Pascal's character, but Pedro Pascal's character is not evil. So it could have been really interesting seeing these two characters who kind of want the same thing being forced against each other when one of them has a bit of an skewed opinion on the other one because of what the other one's been told to do by the dick emperors. They just didn't really capitalize on that potential. They kind of fumbled it. As I was watching Gladiator 2, I asked myself a question. Would I be remotely as interested in this story and these characters if it was not Gladiator 2? If it was a completely original sword and sandals film called Colosseum or something? Would this story and would these characters be remotely as intriguing to me? And the answer is no. And I think that's the main problem with Gladiator 2. It relies so much on the legacy of the original to try and put this one over. It's as if the film is expecting you to care about Lucius and care about this story because it's Gladiator 2 and because Lucius was the little boy in Gladiator 1. So it's expecting you to automatically care. But I just didn't, really. I was not nearly as interested in this story as I should have been, and no pun intended, I was not nearly as entertained as I should have been. Sequels can be tricky because they have to continue the story from the previous film whilst standing on their own, and Gladiator 2, to me at least, is a sequel that just does not escape the shadow of its classic predecessor because it just doesn't really try to. It doesn't bring a lot of its own ideas to the table apart from sharks in the Colosseum. Yeah, they put sharks in the Colosseum. And since he's now disappointed me with a Gladiator sequel, I just don't think I'm going to look forward to any more of Ridley Scott's films.